We now go inside out and welcome in SNY NFL insider Connor Hughes. And Connor, the day after Aaron Rodgers was hurt, Robert Saleh said this isn't Madden and that the Jets weren't going to look for a third quarterback. How much of a blunder will it prove to be for this franchise to let nearly 2 weeks go by before looking for help at quarterback?
It's looking like a big one. And look, the Jets had their reasoning. This wasn't like it was malpractice at the front office and coaching standpoint. Basically, they wanted to show Zach Wilson that they had faith in him to be this team's starting quarterback, and they believed that if they went out there and signed somebody who had a reputation, who had been there and done it before, maybe somebody who was going to come in here not necessarily with the mindset I'm going to be sitting for that long of a time, that it would break Zach Wilson's psyche. And look, I think that was the wrong move, because these are not the New York Zach Wilsons. These are the New York Jets, and Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas needed to do what was best for every single other player other than just Zach Wilson. So they should have stuck with Zach Wilson to start. Said, Zach Wilson, this is your team. We believe in you. But if you do not have success, if you continue to struggle like you did your first year in the league and your second year in the league, then we need to have a contingency plan in place to take over and get us to the playoffs, because we have every other aspect that we need to be a legitimate contender in the AFC. The Jets did not do that. And now 2 weeks where that veteran could have been spent learning the offense and gathering the offense and figuring things out so he can now take over for Zach Wilson and try to keep this ship afloat, it's thrown out the window, and the Jets are left scrambling.
Yeah, putting Zach Wilson's psyche as a priority ahead of the entire team certainly appears to be pretty mind-boggling. But we just heard Robert Saleh say the Jets see an improved and more confident Zach Wilson. Connor, what are they seeing that's not showing up on Sunday?
They have to say that, Eamon. I mean, they have to. They can't. Robert Saleh can't stand up at the podium and be like, guys, we're in very much trouble. We are kind of screwed here. He can't say those things, so he has to continue to push the forward, look for the optimism, and hope that Zach Wilson figures this out. But look, Zach Wilson is still the exact same quarterback that the New York Jets saw enough of in year one of his career and in year two of his career to go out there and get Aaron Rodgers and basically say, look, the only thing that's going to save Zach Wilson is sitting behind a player who's done it before for years, plural, not years, multiple years. That was the plan. Sit him behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 full seasons, and then maybe he takes over as the Jets starter in year 3. The changes that the Jets were hoping to see, there wasn't some magic switch that just fast-forwarded those 3 years they were hoping he was going to learn. He is still the same quarterback that struggled immensely the last couple of years, 3 months behind Aaron Rodgers in minicamp, OTAs, training camp. That didn't make any difference for Zach Wilson. So unfortunately, the Jets are now left in a very, very similar situation to what they had last year, where they have the championship level defense. They have a competent offensive line. They have playmakers on the offense. But this is a team that is held back by their quarterback, because Zach Wilson is not playing football where the Jets can win in spite of him. Zach Wilson is playing football where he is drowning the rest of this Jets roster. They simply cannot win football games with him out there.
At least last year they had Mike White to provide a spark every now and then in a few games. But on Sunday, Connor, it seemed that the game plan again was to try to limit the chance for the big mistake by Wilson. So how can he develop confidence when it appears that the coaching staff doesn't have confidence in him?
That's a great question. I mean, I think at some point you just basically the way the defenses are stopping the Jets right now is they're loading up the box because they know they're trying to run on first and second down, and then they're getting to a third and long situation, and then finally throwing the ball. That's just not sustainable. Tony Romo was on the broadcast talking about this, that it was just an incredibly predictable game plan. And I don't necessarily know if I fault Nathaniel Hackett as much as I originally thought I should have faulted Nathaniel Hackett. And a big reason for that is he's just trying to protect Zach Wilson from himself. But this goes back to the very first thing we were talking about here, Eamon, is that if you are that petrified to let Zach Wilson throw the ball because of what could potentially happen if Zach Wilson throws the ball, then way back when Aaron Rodgers went down, you should have went out and signed somebody to start getting them ready if this situation came to fruition. And more than anything else, you probably should have moved on from Zach Wilson last year and gotten a legitimate backup in place for this team. So if something happened to Aaron Rodgers, the entire season didn't go down the drain.
Yeah, it all comes back to not getting a backup. But now, heck, they're playing a game that no one expects them to win, so why not let it rip? I doubt that's going to happen. But Connor Hughes, thanks for joining us here on Honda Sports Night.